Greetings, greetings, greetings.
Hello. Welcome back.
Yes, welcome back. Welcome back to Earth School Journey. We are so happy to have you here. I'm your peer guide, Uni. This is my lovely co-host and fellow peer guide, Umi Steph.
No.
And that is Riverdine in the background saying hello. How you doing today, Umi?
I'm doing pretty well, other than like just being extremely cold. It is so cold on the East Coast right now.
It is freezing. Like we have not had consistently cold weather like this in some time.
Yeah.
And it just hit me today that, it's been below freezing temps for like a week straight. I'm like, what is going on? And then prior to that, there's been some days here and there, and we're getting, expecting a snowstorm coming. It's just a lot going on. Mother Nature is like, listen, y'all need to sit down, y'all need to be in the house, y'all need to cool off, okay? Mother Nature is telling us we need to cool off. So I'm taking heed and I'm sitting my behind down. I'm actually recovering from a cold. I want to thank Umi for holding it down last week. Thank you so much, Umi. While I was under the weather, of course, I'm back, so I'm feeling a little better now. Thankfully, I'm getting better every day, more and more. I want to thank everyone who's still tuned in. Thanks for your comments, your likes, your shares, and your well wishes for me to get better. I felt all the love, and I'm definitely on the mend. So, thank you all so much. This month we are talking about vision. You know, we were sharing, late last month about how we are in this phase right now. Like I said, Mother Nature has us, sitting down, relax, like bundle up, sit down, be in the house. You don't need to be out too much. It's too cold outside, okay? And so this is really a really good time when we are kind of being prompted to be still, to really tap into our vision. Oh my God, I just feel like we're so in alignment. So I'm excited to talk about vision. Our topic for tonight is actually vision beyond manifestation culture. Okay, we going there today. Okay, we are definitely going there today because when it comes to your vision, it's definitely about going beyond manifestation. It is about working with the divine to craft, to nurture, to embody the highest timeline for your life. And we're going to talk about that tonight. So before we get started, I want to take a pause and say, Umi, how you doing today? I don't even think I asked you how you doing today. I'm like Dak, and I'm just like ready to dive right in. But we got to take a pause and see how Earth School is going for my sister. How are you today?
I am doing well. I'm definitely, like I said, I was. I think you did ask, and I said I was cold, but
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah. I mean, as far as how Earth School is going, every day is its own lesson, and this cold weather is really giving me a good time to reflect and to really look at what has been kind of running the show in my mind, in my mindset, in my spirit. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at the moment. I'm really excited to get into this topic and talk about this because it's been on our mind for a little while now, and then you were out last week, so we didn't really get to talk. So I'm excited to be talking. How about you? How are you feeling? Are you 100%? Are you like, how are we doing?
I would say I'm about 85, 90%. Still working on, getting better. So not 100%, but I'm getting there. Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm excited for this topic as well. It is definitely. I think I spoke about this in study hall. Just really thinking less about the past, less about the future, and really getting into the now. Like you just said, like, where am I right now? And am I tapped into the highest um, timeline for my life? Am I tapped into the divine's will for my life? Those are questions that I have been really sitting down in the cold, wrapped in my blankets with the heating with the heating blanket on, with my tea, you know what I mean? Trying to stay warm and just think about it, just while I'm thinking about, being on a beach somewhere, wishing I was in Hawaii somewhere. I'm also thinking about a vision for my life. So yeah, let's dive right in. Let's dive right in. How are you guys doing out there? All of our classmates, we want to welcome you again. Thank you all so much for joining us. We are 7 months in now. Feels like it's been a lifetime, that we've been on this journey together. But it has been amazing. So yeah, let us know in the comments. How are you? How has Earth School, been going for you? And what are you or excuse me, Lord Jesus, I'm trying to stay away from the manifesting word. But are you tapped into the highest vision for your life? Are you thinking about that? How has this month been going for you? Have you been taking the time to sit with some of the questions that the journal prompts that we um, introduced during homeroom check-in? Let us know in the comments. We're in the comments with you right now, so chat with us. Let us know while we keep the conversation going. So, vision. What is it, Umi? I'm gonna pose it to you. What is vision? What is it to you?
What is it to me? Well, I think I talked a little bit about it last week. In that, I think there was a time where I kind of thought it was synonymous with manifestation. Not exactly synonymous with manifestation, but that, it was really like, I'm going to set this goal and I'm going to manifest my way to it. You know what I mean? Like, I want to do this, I want to do that. And, there's some truth to that, in that, whatever it is you really want from a pure place is part of your vision, right? In most cases. But if you're not stopping to listen to spirit, to listen to your higher self, your soul, you know, your higher power, then you're just setting goals. You're not really, tapping into a vision. And I feel like the vision is more purposeful. It's bigger than just, I want a house, I want a car, I want this job, I want to, do this particular work, I want my kids to be well. And it's bigger than that. This vision is really tapping in to your unique reason for being on this planet at any given time. And so I think it's also always changing. Your vision in your 20s is not the same vision you have in your 30s, is not the same vision you have in your 40s. It's not the same vision you're going to have in your 60s, 70s, 80s either. As you evolve and grow and gain more knowledge, then your vision will pull you into different directions, into different areas, to do work that you weren't prepared for 10, 20, 30 years earlier. And so it's not a static thing, it's dynamic, it's always moving, it's always, growing and changing. And it's a direction, it's a path. It's like putting the GPS on but not giving it a direction, and it's just giving you directions to go here, make this left. You don't know what you're doing or why, you're just trying to go. Okay, not that I recommend ever trying to just turn the GPS on to a random place, but that's just the metaphor that I'm like kind of giving as to how I see vision is it's not that you don't know the direction you're going, you do, but you may not see the full picture because the person you are today is not ready for the person that you're going to be in 20 years, that you're going to be in 30 years, right? But this it's deeper than just I want this, I want that. It's my soul wants this. My soul wants to express in this way. My soul wants to, you know, whatever it is that your soul wants to do to help humanity, to raise the consciousness. And it's not always going to be some grand, thing. It may not be that. It may be something small at first and grow over time. So that's how I see vision.
Yeah, thank you for that. What it sounds like to me, you're saying is that vision is like a relationship,
Mm,
a relationship with your higher self, a relationship, like you said, with your soul, a relationship with the you that embodies, all that you came here to embody.
mhm,
I feel like, when it comes to vision, it's less about what you want, but it's more about who you become, as a result of taking the right actions and doing the right things and listening deeply. You know what I mean? Trusting what you can't see. And, the thing that I was, as you were speaking, I'm like, yeah, like, we live in such a world that teaches us to be very visual. You know what I mean? Kind of like superficial, to a large degree as well. We want the hot guy or the hot girl. We want the nice car, and for the longest time, I wanted a Jeep Grand Cherokee, but realizing that they're not the best vehicles, like they've had some really serious problems. But when I look at it, I'm like, that thing is sexy. Like I could, I've driven it a few times. Like I could see me, or what I'm saying, pushing that thing. Like okay, but if it's gonna be breaking down on me every other week, that's not the highest vision for my life. Yeah, I may look good in it. I may be like, look at you. I may look good in it, but it's gonna give me more headache than anything because if it's not gonna be reliable, then what's really the point to be riding in something that look good that's not reliable? So, as you were speaking, I was just really thinking about that. Like it's beyond what looks good. It can even be beyond what feels good sometimes because
mm,
sometimes you got to go beyond your senses because we have been so many of us. I try to only speak for myself. I know I have been attuned to things that were necessarily not very healthy for me, growing up. And so, you know, being able to say, yes, I want this. I remember writing a list saying I want this type of job with this type of money, these type of benefits in this type of location. I don't want to live too far, this type of commute, et cetera, et cetera. I got all of that. And then when I get there, I'm being talked down to, I'm being disrespected. People are suspicious of me for no reason. Yes, I'm struggling, but I'm having a hard time. And it's like I set a goal for myself, but I did not sit and ask the Most High. I did not sit and ask myself. I did not sit and ask Source. I did not sit, period, and say, what is the best thing for my life right now? You know what I mean? And how can I see clearly right now so that I can embody who it is that I'm supposed to embody and so that I can be who I need to be so that I can live the life that I'm supposed to live, I didn't know to ask those questions. I'm just learning that, on this Earth School journey. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I'm just learning that. I'm still peeling back layers of the onion. And so, you know, um, when it comes to vision, sometimes I feel like it's not something that we're meant to figure out, but it's more so something that we are to listen for, really tap into, really tune in and allow it to come to us. Because we forget, or let me say it this way, we were never taught really, like even those of us that went to church and, grew up in church and went to vacation Bible school and Bible study on Wednesdays and Sunday school on Sundays and so on and so forth. Like we did the whole shebang. Nobody said you are a spiritual being having a human experience. Nobody said you have to look beyond this physical form. You have to look beyond what you see around you. Nobody said that to us. I know nobody said it to me. And so I thought that if I, aspired to certain goals and, aspired to have certain things, that was really what it was all about. And it wasn't until, you know, I hit about, 36 and I'm like, yeah, no, this ain't it. This ain't it. It might be it for you. You're like, listen, whatever you got going on, that's your business. But this ain't it for me, you know. So vision. It's not about manifestation. It's not just goal setting and planning. It's not even prophecy, It's not. It's about receiving. It's about remembering. It's about seeking. It's about allowing, So thank you for that. And next, we wanted to kind of go into how to prepare ourselves for the vision. Like I just said, I kind of went there a little bit without realizing, you know, um, just thinking about emotional residue that comes from, generational trauma, comes from our upbringing, it comes from, having caregivers, parents, grandparents, so on and so forth, our extended relatives, people who didn't know any better. Our aunts and uncles, they didn't know any better, really. They were just doing what was done to them. They were, surviving the best way they knew how, and a lot of emotional residue was put on us, you know. One of the things that I've been, really, really working through very, very hard is knowing that I am worthy and nobody gets to, decide my worth. Nobody gets to tell me that I should be sitting over here and keeping my head down and shutting up and being quiet and so or not being honest. Like nobody gets to tell me that. I get to live my truth. I get to have, autonomy and I get to be a sovereign being and decide, hey, I want to live a good life you know? And so understanding like the emotional residue that I got from, my elders, listen, that was their stuff. Yes, it was, things said and done that, kind of got me a little messed up when I was younger, got me all twisted up on the inside and I wasn't really going in the directions of things that ultimately when I got there, I felt like they were the best for me. Looking back over so many things I manifested. I think I said this in week one in homeroom check-in. I can't think of one thing that I wanted that I didn't get. And so now it's like I've been sitting like, what do I really want? What is really going to be fulfilling to my soul? What is really going to make me truly happy on a deep level like I've never felt before? Like really asking myself those questions. And I've had to really look at the emotional residue that I've had in my life and how I ended up on track A when I belonged on track L. You know what I mean? Like I really had to sit and think about that. And so it hasn't been easy, but I feel like, going back kind of like to the drawing board, so to speak, it's really been imperative for me to think about the emotional residue that is over, my life and that's still in my life and how I can release those things and, honor them for what they were. They taught me a lot. I think about some of the mythological stories, I think I said that right, in the past. And Persephone, I believe she was one of the ones who like went into the underworld and she was under there for however long and she got, all the darkness that she saw and then she came back up to the light after a certain amount of time. Like sometimes I think about things like that. Like I went under there so that I can see and I can understand and I can, you know, kind of like peruse around and get those lessons, but come back to the light so that I can help. But I don't want to also have um, I think that's like my Aquarius moon. We're in Aquarius season. I think that's like my Aquarius moon, like intellectualizing things a little bit, you know, instead of like really feeling them and really allowing them. And so sitting in stillness has helped me as well. A lot of things have come up, I probably cried more in the last 5 years than I did my whole entire life. And I am not exaggerating. You know what I mean? I have cried more in the last since 2020. It has been the emotional residue that has come up has been beyond anything that, that I've ever thought would come up. And so we really wanted to bring this up because a lot of times people skip this part and they go straight for the vision, they go straight for the manifestation, they go straight for the goals, they go straight for the, you know what I mean? But we can't forget what was lesson number one in the Karate Kid? Wax on, wax on. He had to clean that. He had to clean that window. Okay, he had to clean that window before he could do anything else.
Yeah.
And so, Umi, I'm gonna hand it over to you. What do you think about, emotional residue and
Yeah.
how we can clear that up so we can get to the vision?
Yeah. I think that this is a really important point because if you aren't taking a look at that, if you aren't clearing that, you know, where are you manifesting from? Are you manifesting from a pure spiritual, higher self place? Or are you manifesting from hurt? And an example, that I like that I was thinking about when you were talking is, that I became a lawyer, right? And I really wanted, that was my goal. That was what I was trying to make happen. That's what I was praying for and, speaking on and all of that. And I did it and I got it. And it was totally wrong for me. It was horrible. I hated it. And it took me a lot of years to realize that that goal that I was manifesting, that dream, so called dream that I was manifesting, was not coming from a healed place. It was coming from, I'll show them. I'll show them. They said I could never be anything. I wouldn't do anything with my life, right? I'll show them. And that's where it was coming from. It was also coming from a place of wanting to overgive and overdo for other people. And, oh, I want to help people. I want to solve other people's problems because that's what they say lawyers are, problem solvers, right? And feeling like my worth was wrapped up in what I could do for other people. And that's not coming from a healed place. That's that emotional residue that's pushing you from a place of pain and not a vision that's pulling you towards it to grow, to be better, to clear out all of that emotional residue. It was definitely a place of hurt that pushed me into another place of hurt, that pushed me into another place of hurt because I was not thinking from a spiritual, I wasn't looking through a spiritual lens. My lens was blurry. My lens was blurred with low self worth, low self value, needing to prove myself to other people. And, you know, I I don't want to get into regret and wishing I had known, but had I known then that I needed to work on this before I decided what direction my life was going to go in, you know, then, maybe I could have gotten to where I'm at sooner. Maybe not. Maybe I just had to take the path I had to take in order to know any of this, and know it with any true knowledge, because experience is knowledge. So I had to experience this. But I do know going forward that part of my visioning process is always going to be to check in with myself, and what do I need to let go of? What has to go in order for a true vision to come forth, for me to know it? Um, so I'm so glad that you brought this up, because there's so many emotions that could be holding you back, of not enoughness, not, grief, anger, you know, all of those things that can really skew your perspective and have you aiming for something that is not coming from a healed and whole place. So, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. What I hear you saying is that unhealed pain doesn't block your vision. What it does is it rewrites it. So your vision is gonna drive, it's gonna take you somewhere, but is it where you really want to go? It's something for us to really think about that, really check in. Thank you for that reminder to constantly check in with ourselves, especially knowing what we know about ourselves at this point, because a lot of the times the things that come up are like it's repeating cycles, it's kind of like the same things coming up in different, people, places, and things to test whether or not we're ready to graduate, whether we're ready to level up. So thank you so much for that. All right. So after we wax on, wax off, clear the emotional residue, after we clear the emotional residue, we should be ready to get in alignment and get into a place of receptivity, being open to receive the vision, and again, you can't get there until you have allowed yourself, vision is something that really can't be forced. It's
Hmm.
something that is received, it requires stillness, humility, honesty, emotional honesty. You got to be real with yourself. The 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 mirror has to be clean. We talked about mirror work a few months back and how important it is to see ourselves correctly, not with the lens of your alcoholic mother or father, not with the lens of your weirdo uncle, not from the lens from your cousins that were bullies. You don't need to see yourself through that lens anymore. That is not the reflection that that is true for you. That is the reflection that they got to deal with, and I feel like for me, vision has come more quietly than anything. That's why people think I'm strange, especially now. Like I don't want to hear a lot of noise. Like I could deal with noise. Like I could deal with children playing. I could deal with, you know what I mean, music. I could deal with, you know, the birds and the bees. I could deal with like true sounds. You know what I mean? But noise,
Hmm.
I don't want to hear no noise. Okay? I don't want no noise in my life because I have somewhere that I need to go. I have people that are coming behind me that I need to be an example for. And so getting quiet and being still, like I can't explain it enough how that time during quarantine was really a blessing for me because I was able to really get still and be quiet and realize that I was I was just running on fumes at that point. Like I didn't even know I was so out of alignment, you know? And I was able to get still and make myself available to a higher vision for my life. Now, before that, yes, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I thought about being an RN. I wanted to write books. There's so many things I wanted to do. You know what I mean? But I wasn't really available to them. I was barely available to myself. I had to get available to myself, emotional available to myself, so that I could hear beyond the noise,
Hmm.
so that I could hear. Can you imagine that? Like, I didn't realize how noisy my life was, how many things were shouting at me, you know, how closed off I really was. I didn't know. I didn't know I was closed off. I thought, hey, listen, if you need uni, I'm here. If you need me, I'm here. I'm helping. I'm doing this. I'm showing up to work. I got a smile on my face. I'm doing the best I could do, being the best I could be. But on the inside, I was dying. Okay, I was dying on the inside. I thank God to still be here today because I didn't realize how out of alignment I really was. I remember passing out at work one day and felt like I couldn't go home because they would think that it was fake or they would think that I was trying to get over. And I'm just like, my God, I literally blacked out, fell on my head, and I don't feel comfortable going home. I remember going in the bathroom and projectile vomiting one day. Like, I mean, it was, I don't mean to be gross, but like really being sick and coming back out. Like, yeah, I felt better though, but I really should have been able to go home and not feel no type of way. But because I was in a place that didn't trust me, even though I had given so much, I gave so much of myself and did the best I could, and I'm in a place that didn't trust my best, like literally. You know what I mean? I couldn't even be sick. That's how out of alignment I was. And so, thankfully, like that was around the time that, like I said, not long after that, it was like I feel like the Most High was like, yeah, it's time for everybody. Like now, it's cold outside. It's time for us to sit down and be in the house and not be out there acting a fool. Oh, that was the time for us to sit down, you know. Even though, there's a lot of conspiracy theories about the whole pandemic and all of that, and I agree with some of them, but when they say that you have to, see the silver lining and, how did something help you? It definitely helped me to realize that I was not in alignment and I was not receiving God's best for me because I was stuck with my manifestation. That's where I was stuck at. I was stuck with my manifestation. I manifested it. I was making good money, good benefits, good commute. I manifested it. I had my manifestation. Where I was going. Omi, what do you think about alignment and receptivity, receiving the vision? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, well, I think when it comes to alignment, I think that's where, the constant, like, you need to keep checking in, because even once you've done your emotional work, you know, you can do it and then, you get in alignment and you start moving in a direction and you can fall back out of alignment because, oh, now we're going deeper in that level of emotional, stuff that needs to be dealt with. Or here's something new that you have to tackle. And you don't know how to handle it. And you don't, you may go in the wrong direction. Or sometimes the vision isn't coming as fast as you want it to come, and I want to, go in that direction. The vision is pulling me in that direction, but you don't know the next step, you know? And so you are trying to do without checking in. And then this may be going into like kind of something else we were going to talk about, which is about manifesting the vision, where you aren't in alignment. What are you manifesting? That's kind of what it sounds like. What you were saying is like, yeah, I was manifesting left and right, but I wasn't manifesting in alignment with my vision. It was just kind of, I'm just doing what I think it needs to be done. And so being in alignment and also being open, and the openness, I've really, for me, it really came with that worthiness, is that I wasn't open to it because I didn't feel worthy of it. Who am I to teach anybody? Who am I to get on YouTube and talk to people? you know I know we dealt with that probably for a good like 6 months before we were like ready to turn on a camera, and then we waited another 6 months because we really kept asking ourselves that question of like, I feel this vision pulling me. We're supposed to get on here, start this channel, build this community, this spiritual community, that we were looking for ourselves, right? We wanted to create that for other people. And we felt that, but we both kept asking ourselves, like, who am I? And so I think for a good while, and we've talked about this before, I've been talking about a podcast for years, years. But it wasn't until, I can't even say last year anymore. It was the year before last that we actually started having serious conversations and putting in the foundation work to actually start recording and going live on YouTube. And honestly, I feel like that was because I wasn't really receptive. I wasn't open to it. I heard it. It sounded like a great idea. I wanted to do it, but I didn't believe in it. I wasn't receiving the steps of the vision. That's River. She's agreeing with me or disagreeing. I don't know. Meanwhile, I have this right here, always accompanied by an animal around here. Um, but yeah, if you're not open to it, if you're not, again, I think it all goes back to constantly checking in with that emotional stuff. What emotional baggage is holding me back at each step? Am I receptive to this? Am I in alignment? Is there something that's got me out of alignment? Some feeling, emotion, something, fear. I think fear often throws us out of alignment because spirit is saying, jump. You can't see over that cliff, jump. And you're like, if I jump and it's, a 50-foot drop down, what happens? You know? And you may think it's a far jump, but it's really only a step down, you know? But when it comes to, are you open to it? Are you trusting in the vision? Do you believe in your vision? You know? Um, yeah, that's all I got on that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And shout out to River and Owen, who are constant companions here for us. We love them. I can't wait till I'm surrounded by animals and more plants and trees and nature.
Oh.
Um, I feel like you touched on this a little bit, just kind of going into the manifestation part of the vision, action and faith, you know. Um, there's a saying that we've heard a gazillion times, that faith without works is dead, you know. You've got to do the work, but it's like vision, excuse me, doing the work without tapping into the vision is going to lead you to burnout, you know. And a lot of people get to around, you know, 35, 40 years old and they get burned out. And it's because, again, we are not taught from a young age to sit with ourselves, or many of us. Again, let me not speak for everyone. Some people have been born and bred and nurtured for what they're supposed to be doing with their life since they were toddlers, you know. But for the vast majority of us, you know, we are not necessarily manifesting the vision that is really in alignment with our true selves. If not, why is, midlife crisis a thing? You know what I mean?
Yep.
You get to you get to 40 years old, you be like, wait, hold up, pause, hold up. Why is
Mhm.
that a thing? Because we're manifesting without vision, because we're not checking in with ourselves. Because even when you take, okay, maybe spirit says take that jump, maybe it's a step, but then guess what? There's another step after that. There might be a leap after that. You may have to take a left after that. You got to keep walking the walk. That's been one of my biggest challenges, Umi, to be honest with you, is like keep walking the walk.
Mhm.
And that's why I feel like it's so important for me to be in partnership. I feel like, I mean, I'm not the best partner, but I feel like in partnership, I feel like I'm better in partnership because there's just something about having someone who's going to help me keep the vision alive throughout the process, because I can get down on myself. I can, that residue will come up sometimes throughout the process. You know what I mean? And sitting up here and pretending like, I got it all together, it's not going to help. It's not going to help me. It's not going to help anybody. I think that, a lot of times we see, and I'm not knocking anybody, but we've seen a lot of life coaches. We've seen a lot of, um, you know, uh, uh, life guides and all these type of people, and a lot of times it doesn't really last long because their lives behind the scenes are not, as in alignment as they're trying to help the next person. Like, you got to help yourself first. But I feel like there is this, when it comes to taking action and having faith, like you touched on earlier, and I kind of like brought that out about the relationship. You know, it's kind of like having someone like whispering in your ear. You know what I mean? Yes, again, take that leap, hop over there, skip that way, jump this way, spin around. I don't know, do the hokey pokey. I don't know. But, sometimes it can be like that. Sometimes it does not make the least bit of sense, but it all comes together in the end. Having that faith along with taking actionable steps towards your vision, it's going to give you the direction that you need. And then understanding that sometimes delays are good as well. You know, sometimes we get impatient. We get impatient with ourselves, with our own process. Sometimes I get a little impatient with myself because I wish I was moving faster. I wish I was going faster. But no, 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 no. I had to come to terms with that within myself, that I was getting steady within as I was like taking those baby steps. One thing I started doing this last year, because I've been an avid walker, jogger for a long time. This year, for some reason, something was like walk slow, like walk really slow, like walk really slow. Like, don't worry about these people out here. Everybody's power walking, everybody's whatever. You walk slow. I was like, okay. I look like I don't know what. You know what I mean? I see people looking at me like, is she okay? I'm on the boardwalk, on the pier, whatever. I'm walking slow as I don't know what. And I started to feel a sense of healing in my nervous system. I listened. I had faith and I listened. I didn't know why. I took those slow steps and I started to feel different on the inside. Like my nervous system was like, oh, this feels good. I don't have to always power walk. I don't always have to jog or run. For what? I can walk slow. I can be patient with myself. Like, wow, this feels good. you know? So there's a lot more that I could go, but I'll give you the floor, Umi. What do you think, when it comes to manifesting the vision, taking those faithful, actionable steps?
Yeah. We've all heard that faith without works is dead, and we associate works with doing and action. And sometimes the action that needs to be taken is that you need to pause. You need to sit your butt down and tap in, you know. And sometimes it's that you need to pivot, you know. Your vision in the beginning may come through as, you know, we're going to you're going to do this YouTube channel. I'll just use that as an example, right? And for a while that's the vision. That's where you're going. That's the direction. You're doing the things, you're taking the steps. And then, you know, it starts to get uncomfortable. It starts to get boring. It starts to get whatever and you're like, "Well, this is the vision, so I have to stick with this." But really, now it's time to sit. Now it's time to tap in. Is this all? Is there something else? Is there something greater than this? Is there a different direction that I'm supposed to go in? Right. And now you sit down, you stop, you listen, and you may be asked to reevaluate, to look at what you've been doing, to see where things are working, where they're not working. You may be asked to just pivot in a whole different direction. You don't know. So knowing when to pause and when to pivot, sometimes that's the work, is to have the discernment to know now it's time for me to stop. Now it's time for me to change direction. You may pivot back. It may be a temporary pivot, and that, yeah, sometimes things are taking a long time to come. I mean, I've been waiting on this house over on our land for, we've been in this house now for 3.5 years. And I'm like, and we had started the process of building that house a year before we bought this house. And I see now, had we gotten it then, we weren't ready. We weren't ready. The delay was to build the stamina, to build the knowledge base, to make us better stewards of what was to come, right? And I had to keep taking steps, even when I felt discouraged, even when I felt like my vision is to be on this land, but I'm in this smaller house with this smaller garden, with this, less space, less that I can do. And I very quickly realized within the first year of being here that this little garden is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. I realized I don't know how to do this. I've got to learn systems. I got to put this in place. I'm taking action, but I had to keep stopping and saying, what now? What next? What do I need to know? What do I need to learn? Sometimes you're not ready for the bigger vision, you know? So knowing when to pause and knowing when to pivot, those are, really important when you're in the process of manifesting your vision. You're going to manifest things. You're going to call it in. You're going to have times like right now. I feel like a daily part of my wife and I's prayer is praying about this house getting built, Everything being done the way the Most High wants it to be done. Because we have our idea, but what if that's not what we need? What if we're putting too much? What if we're thinking that it's we need this much when really we need this much? Which is that's really the story of the smaller house to the now going to the bigger house, the smaller land to the bigger land. um you have to know when to pause, you have to know when to pivot, and you have to keep moving though, you know and when I say moving, I mean moving forward. And there may be a pause at each step where you take a moment to check in, and you may hear, okay, you're going to do this. And so you do it even though you don't know why. It doesn't always. I heard something recently, in the realm of manifesting your vision, is that um sometimes you have to throw rationality out the window, because you're but if you want something greater than what you know, sometimes you have to throw rationality out the window. And that doesn't necessarily mean that like you dump all your money into some big investment, without thinking about it, without, checking in. I truly believe that we are given direction to take faithful steps that make sense. That makes sense. We may not really necessarily get it, right? But in the process of moving towards that step, you may encounter a person who tells you about that thing, who's done it already, and then you go, "Oh, that's why I need to do that. Now I understand." And then you move forward fully. It's sometimes you have to take steps not completely understanding the entire process of why you have to do this thing. You know, I don't know if anybody's had this experience of having your intuition say, call that person. And you're like, I haven't talked to them in years. Why do I need to call them? Just call them. And you call them and they say the exact thing you need to hear at that moment in time, right? Or they have an opportunity that you would have missed had you not followed that intuition. Was there a rational reason? Not really, but it wasn't going to sink the boat because you made that phone call. So yeah, I think sometimes you don't always know exactly where a step is leading you. And so, yes, you have to take those actionable steps. You also have to listen for when to pause and when to pivot. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. Oh, so next we wanted to talk about distractions. You know, distractions can, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but, you know, distractions can definitely cause you to miss some quiet wisdom. You know, a lot of times it seems like, to me, distractions seem like somewhat rewarding, you know, like, is it just me? Like sometimes distractions seem rewarding. Like even me watching Netflix sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, you need, you know, like turn it off. There's not so much true crime in the world, Uni. Like there's TV1, turn it off, okay? Like yes, you're learning about, a lot of strange things in the world, maybe, but it's just what you're really supposed to be doing with your life.
Sometimes we
So
convince ourselves that distractions are rest.
we do, right? We do.
Yep.
We get out of alignment with ourselves and what our vision is really calling us to do, you know. I feel like, as I was talking about noise earlier, I feel like as I have been, turning down the noise in my life, I have been allowing myself to hear real sounds. Again, actually paying attention, listening to the birds. Like I didn't realize like there's a hawk or something that could cause around here. Like I'm in the hood. Like what are you doing around here? I'm just joking, but you know what I mean? Like just really listening to things that I probably never really paid attention before. Going to the park and actually listening to the waves crash on the rocks or listening to the leaves rustle, either in the wind on the tree or even under my feet as I walk, those sorts of things. And I feel like by tapping into, nature sounds and turning down a lot of the noise in my life, I have been able to strengthen my discernment, you know seeing things that I've never seen or hearing things that I've never really paid attention to. Not just with others, with myself. Like, oh wow, never noticed that before. You know? And so I feel like, turning down distractions is something that we have to be intentional about, you know? I don't really like gossip. I'm not really a fan of it. I don't really like talking about people. Like, yeah, sometimes I'll indulge with the person I'm on the phone with, but I don't like it. I just do it to kind of appease them, or I did it to appease them. I don't do it anymore. Like, I don't want to, I straight up cut people off. Like, I don't want to hear that. That's noise. It's not like, let's talk about something more productive. How can you better yourself? How can I better myself? Like, I don't want to hear about anybody else's gossip. That's noise to me, you know? There's so many things that I realize is noise to me that is just I just never realized it before. And not allowing myself to engage in those things, being really intentional about it, has really helped me to have a bigger vision. It's really opened my alignment and my receptivity to see the bigger vision for my life that I never really saw before. You know, I had to have like it takes courage to miss out on things. Like to be like, I don't want to go to that party. All they gonna do is drink, and you know what I mean. It ain't really. It takes courage to really be open to your vision. You know, sometimes it's lonely. Sometimes it's really lonely because again, distractions seem rewarding seems rewarding. Oh, you're having a good time, going to the party, you dancing, you twerk a little bit, doing your thing, feels good. And you be like, okay, I had a good time. And next week, oh, you twerking, you drinking, you doing a little thing, da da da. And every Friday for, 6 months. Meanwhile, the Most High has a bigger vision for you. You have a bigger vision for you. I had a bigger vision for me. And I had to limit the distractions in my life. They were so like there's a familiarity that we have with distractions that we just don't realize. We're raised on distractions, television, games, again, partying, drinking, smoking, whatever. We're raised on these things. But then when you get to 40 and you're like, wait, wait, you know,
Yeah.
one of my words this year is devotion. It's my word. I don't know what made me think of it. I thought about how in the morning before church, before like it was after Sunday school, but before service started, we used to have devotion. I don't know what made me think of it. I was just like, devotion. just came up to me one day. And I said to myself, you know, I want to be devoted to the highest vision for my life. I'm still working on it. I'm not going to sit up here and pretend like I got it down. Like, don't listen, okay? Don't trust me. I'm still working on it. But limiting my distractions has helped me to be more devoted.
Hmm.
It has helped me to really think about other things that, like you don't realize the things that take up space in your mind. We have
Living
so
rent
much going,
free. They living rent
right?
free in your head, doing nothing,
Nothing. It ain't giving
eating
you
up all
no
your
return.
resources.
Not giving you no return. No return.
Right.
Like what business it what does it do me to know she got three different baby daddies and ain't none of them doing their part and she can't keep a job and she using this one for his money. What is that? What's that how that's helping me?
Mm-hmm.
How
Mm-hmm.
that's helping me?
Yeah.
That's why I'm telling you. I had to limit my conversation with people. When I start telling people, hey, listen, you know, I understand you got something else going on. Your focus is over here, but I'd really like to, tap into this over here. These are the things that interest me.
Mm-hmm.
Once you tell me, once I see you not receptive to that, like, listen, this isn't doing anything for me.
Mm-hmm.
This
Yeah.
isn't this isn't helping me.
Right.
I want to talk to people that when we talk about things, I'm telling you, I have sisters who say, what kind of tea you drinking right now? Or, oh, you can't sleep? Make sure you get your chamomile. Make sure you drink your lavender. Make sure you do this. I know these things, but sometimes I forget. I bought some NyQuil last week when I was sick, and I was like, damn, what kind of tea helps me? And I couldn't think straight. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. I called my sister. I'm like, because well, I can't think of what's gonna help me sleep. She's like, girl, get you some chamomile or some lavender and you're gonna be knocked out. You don't even need that NyQuil. Thank you. I know these things. Chamomile and lavender is the most general thing in the world. But I couldn't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I was distracted by this cold I had. But I had a sister who got me back straight, you know? Now if I would have called another sister, she would have been telling me about some drama. She wouldn't have been able to tell me about lavender and chamomile.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I said all that to say that it's about understanding that limiting, people can be distractions as well.
Yep.
People, not just what they talk about, what they got going on. Like, can this person help you when
Mm-hmm.
you're not feeling good? When you're not on your A1, when you forget?
Yeah.
It's really important when you're trying to manifest the highest vision for your life. I could have still been down.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think about distractions, Omi? What quiet wisdom are we missing out here?
I think you really touched on everything. It's definitely the people that you have around you can be distractions. Um, whether it's that they are pulling you into doing things that you don't need to be doing, like gossiping, like partying, like being lazy, watching too much TV, whatever it is, doing it can be doing too much for other people that keeps you distracted. You know what I mean? Those are definitely like major things you really need to you be paying attention to what's distracting you. um and are you, like you said, devoted to what it is? What is your intention? Are you devoted to your intention? Are you devoted to that vision? Is your vision really your intention? Do you have an intention to manifest that vision? Or are you just being distracted, and are you too afraid to be devoted to that vision? So, really looking, every time I start talking, she won't start talking too.
She said she giving the snaps. She's like, yes, yes.
And so I'm really glad that you touched on that, because the people who are in your life, that really can be one of the biggest distractions. Yes, our phones are a huge distraction. Yes,
Yeah.
Netflix and all of these millions of different apps and cable and all of this stuff, huge distraction. Um, Another thing I heard you say is like, partying, drinking, smoking, that kind of stuff. I will be the first one to say that I had to learn that marijuana was getting in the way. Okay? It was getting in the way. I cannot be, the vision for my life is to be healthy, to be whole, to be strong, to be full of vitality. That is not happening when you have that particular distraction. Okay? Because you're hungry, you're lazy, you can't think straight. You know what I mean? And it becomes, especially when it becomes a daily thing. Like, I would even go to say, even if it's a weekly thing, like if you're doing this on a regular basis, you're taking time away. Because I don't know about you, but the older, I can't even drink wine anymore, because if I have a glass of wine, I'm down for 2 days. What's happening with me? I don't know. I don't have that kind of time anymore. You get to your 40s, and that's when you realize, like, I don't have time to just be doing this and doing that and drinking and smoking and then being lazy for a few days, and then you like, man, I should have been doing this, I should have been, now I'm behind, you know and your health is going down, and you're not getting the things done you need to get done. And it's like, those for me were very big distractions that I have had to learn to release. And look, I drank through my 20s and smoked through my 30s. Okay. And in my 40s, I've had to come to the realization that doing those things, and and this is not to say that there's no place for, I know there are people who use marijuana as a spiritual thing, in a sacred space, in a sacred way, in a limited capacity. Okay. Right. That's fine. You do you, whatever works. There are those of us who are going to go left the second that comes out. Okay. You got to know you. You got to know yourself.
Stay tuned in, family. Stay
You got to know yourself. Okay. I know myself. It's going to take me left. It's going to take me
Yeah.
left, and then left, and then left again. And then I'll be wandering out going, wasn't I doing something? Okay. Look, I get it. I totally get it. But don't allow these things that feel good in the moment to prevent you from getting to that higher place, to that vision, to that, ultimate you. Because that ultimate you is not making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in the middle of the night because they got the munchies. It's not happening. Okay. Especially your 40-year-old self, your 44-year-old self, as I am. This year is the year of eating healthy for me. There is no way to eat healthy when you got the munchies. I'm sorry, it's not happening, because that ain't what kills the craving.
right.
You want junk, okay? And I'm saying it to me. I'm saying it to you. I'm saying it to all of our classmates out there. You're not gonna get the work done. Your homework's gonna be late.
Yeah.
You're not gonna pass the test. You got to know yourself. You have to look at these vices, look at these distractions, and be willing to shed them, and be willing to let them go. It's not easy. It's not. You may have those friends who just keep pulling you back in. They're going to pull you into doing these things. That's where coming, really looking at who you're with and who you're hanging around and what the influence is that they have on you. And I'm not just talking about, you know, drugs and drinking and stuff like that. I'm also talking about gossip. I'm also talking about, you know, just anything that is not in line with your vision. You can be distracted by productive things. You really can. I remember like being distracted when I'm at I need to finish this brief for a client, and I'm being distracted by being productive elsewhere. I am being productive on by doing bookkeeping. I don't need to do bookkeeping right now. I'm being distracted because I'm not on task. I'm not in the I'm going that way. I'm supposed to be going this way. So distractions are definitely something that we all need to be sitting with. What's distracting me? What's distracting you in the comments? You know, I know we're going long today because we didn't get to really have our conversation last week, but you're in the comments right now. We're in the comments. What's distracting you? Be honest with yourself. What is really distracting you? Wax on. That's my soapbox. I'm gonna jump off.
Thank you so much, Umi. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're 100% right. We gotta be honest with ourselves, you know. We definitely gotta be honest with ourselves. And, again, to each his own. I know some people will fight you down about their weed, you know. If people will fight you down about cocaine and things like that too. Like, it's people who will argue you down for their vices. To each his own, okay? But at the end of the day, is it really helping you? Like, okay, even if you are able to maybe get your task done, is your health bad? Are you eating all the junk food? Are you? Because that's gonna come back to haunt you. Come on now, we have an epidemic out here, a health crisis. So definitely think about, what's distracting you. And, you touched on it a little bit, Umi. The next thing we want to talk about is, direction, making sure that you are following your vision step by step, because vision is going to reveal the next step. It's not necessarily going to give you the whole map all the time. It's not going to give you the whole picture. I've seen so many people who say, like, if I knew, like, I would have never thought I would have ended up here. I've seen it so many times. Like, I'm waiting till I could say that. Well, I'm kind of already there in some ways, in my life. I would have never thought that I wouldn't be drinking wine. I used to say,
Me either.
I used
Okay.
to stand some wine out. Listen,
Me.
listen, I wasn't the weed friend, but I bring the wine for sure and drink most of it too. I was definitely that friend. Come on now. Let's be for real out here. But, you know, I feel like a lot of times, we look for certainty in our lives. Like I feel like sometimes that's why we get stuck in like manifestation kind of like culture, because we want certainty. Like we want to go from point A to point B to point C to you know what I mean? Like we want to know. And when you are in the present moment, when you are in alignment with your vision, when you are hearing insights, because guess what? You don't know, something might have just opened up, and spirit is like, go right here, go right here. This just opened up for you. Go right there. You know what I mean? Like you don't know. You don't know what door just opened because somebody else listened to to their vision or their intuition. Maybe they might not, they may or may not have, but they did. And so now if you go over there, right there. you know? And so it's like really having the ability to kind of let go of the destination bias sort of thing, you know? Understanding that, it really is all about alignment and having in a deeper alignment. So okay, so all right, I'm aligned right now in the present with the most high for my life, right? Now if I take that next step, I'm even more aligned. I take the next step, I'm even deeper aligned. I keep going. I'm walking that line. I'm hearing I forget what that verse is about, you know, something about an eye through an eye of a needle is easier to get through an eye of a needle than something. I don't remember. You know us. We don't be Y'all know us. We be knowing the phrases, but we don't be knowing the phrases. But um, what I'm trying to say is that it's not easy. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily easy, but when you get into alignment and you get to moving, you get clarity in that movement. You know, there's something that I was working on recently, and as I've been working on this project, the more I move through it, the more clarity I'm getting. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I need to do next. Oh, this is what I need to do next. This is what I need to do next.
I
I'm
found the
gaining
Bible
more.
verse.
Oh, you found it? Okay, because you say it, because
It's Matthew 19:24. Um, Again, I say unto you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of God.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah,
Okay, got it.
because a rich man is too distracted by his riches.
Too distracted by his riches. He got too much going on. Come on now.
Hmm. Yeah.
He don't really have the direction. He's sitting on the throne. He like, listen, this is my kingdom. I'm good. What you talking about? He ain't thinking about nothing. Okay? He's comfortable. He's comfortable. And one of the things I had to do was get uncomfortable with so many things. I had to get uncomfortable with drinking wine every weekend. I had to get uncomfortable. I had to get uncomfortable with smoking weed. I had to get uncomfortable with listening to gospel. Like when these things started like being uncomfortable to me, and I mean it's not just with age. Sometimes it's just with, you're just like, oh, I'm just tired of doing the same thing. Like that's really kind of what it was for me with a lot of things. I'm like, I'm tired of hearing the same stuff over and over and over. Like I'm tired of doing the same thing over and like there ain't nothing new. Like I'm tired of dealing with the same man over and over and over in different, a different person, but the same man technically. And we got no new men out here. Like what? Like when I'm gonna get off this roller coaster, this merry-go-round. I had to get uncomfortable with the direction that I was going. Excuse me, with the direction that I was going in, and realize that I was actually going somewhere. Like I might have thought I was chilling, I was whatever. I was going somewhere, and I didn't want to go there. I don't want to go there. It's not where I want to be. Thankfully, even though it's been a bit of a kind of a crisis, but not really. It's, I'm more grateful for my eyes opening than anything. You know what I mean? So instead of where some people dig their heels in and kind of indulge even more, like they start drinking more, they start smoking more, they start partying more, they start running up their credit and messing up everything more. Me, I just sat still, like, okay. I kind of got still. Like, this ain't, some people surround themselves with more people to distract themselves. I got more solitary, more comfortable being by myself because I wasn't going in the direction that I wanted to go, you know? And Yeah, I think I think what about you, Umi? How's this step been for you? Direction. What is how's it been for you?
Oh, I think like it's a direction. So I know we're going to talk about attachment to outcome, but to me, they're really just the same thing.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, you could go for it.
Yeah, I feel like you can get too single eyed. You know what I mean? The vision will say, you're gonna do this, and so you're missing steps because you're like, well, this is not on that path. What do you mean? But really, you have to go this way first because you need to get around that, or because you need to go this way. And so the direction, it may not look the way that you think it is. You don't know the map, right? You don't have the map. The map is only revealing to you step by step which way to go. It's not giving you the whole plan because maybe you're not ready for all of those steps. And this is, I keep saying the same thing over and over again. And when you're so attached, particularly to a specific outcome, like to say, because I'm gonna tell you, we're not getting the house that we wanted to get on the land. We decided not to do the big giant 6 bedroom Quonset house that we really wanted to do. We were doing something really unique and interesting. And that's not to say that we won't someday, but at a certain point we realized that we needed an intermediary step and that we couldn't be so attached to that's the house that I want, right? And that I have to have it now. I have to have it in 6 months, that I have to have it, in this particular time frame. Because I will tell you, if you really want to get aggravated with your spiritual journey, give God a time frame. Give God a time frame, and you're gonna see that like it doesn't move on your time. It moves in the timing that it's meant to. And if you are attached to an outcome, whether that outcome be a time frame or something specific, like I need that red convertible, you know, and it can't be a blue one, you know what I mean? Like that is, you can't be so attached that you're not catching the rest of it. You're not catching the way there. Do I believe that someday we will build that bigger Quonset house, that's really unique and quirky and cool, or, whatever that vision that we had in our head was? Yeah, maybe. But I'm not so attached to it now that I can't even get to the land where the vision is, you know? And so that's really all I have to say about direction. Because so those two to me in my head were kind of, you can just, you can keep walking in that direction, but there's a mountain over there, and you really need to pivot that way so that you can go around that mountain. Stop trying to dig your way through it because it's not happening. You'll get there
Right.
eventually,
Right.
and will you live through it? Do you
Look,
go through a mountain? I don't think you do. No.
listen. You know what it sounds like you're saying to me is that an attachment narrows your vision.
Mm,
You know, it limits your vision.
yeah.
Whereas you want to see beyond, you want to broaden your vision. And sometimes it feels like, you know, we have to surrender to the vision, you
Mm,
know,
mm-hmm.
and it seems like you're you're not being devoted or dedicated, but you really are if you allow some flexibility in there. You know, you all are allowing yourselves to be flexible, you know, by not holding so fast to a certain type of home, you know. I remember thinking, you know, just wanting to be in a relationship with a certain person. And meanwhile, I'm getting dragged through the mud. Talk about a mountain. I done got dragged up the mountain, down the mountain. Look, that mother put me through it, okay? But I just had to have this person. I was so stuck on, this, that was the outcome, being with this person. And it's like, what is really going on here? I had to really sit back and think about that. Not allowing myself to evolve and know that I deserve to receive better. I wasn't manifesting from a good place. So the outcome that I was attached to was not a good destination for me. If you're attached to the outcome, you're not fully seeing, you know? You're not fully seeing. Which leads us to our next point, spiritual bypassing.
Mm.
Look, positivity without truth. Listen, I was the queen of spiritual bypassing. I've never said that before in my life until this just now, but it's a fact. I'm telling you, I've made the best of some very dire circumstances. And I give myself grace and credit for that. I kept my head above water, because who knows where it would have took me if I realized that I was really in hell. Who knows what I would have done? I realized that I was really in hell. With people saying that they were going to hell, but the things they were doing and say like they would joke about these sorts of things. I'm like, it took me. I'm like, yeah, you taking us to hell with you. I'm in hell with you. These things you saying and doing, this is hell. People joke about these things, but when I look back, it wasn't a damn thing funny about it. You know, I was the queen of spiritual bypassing. You know why? And this is why I give myself credit because when you don't really have a support system, it can really make you settle for things that are not really good for you because you feel like you don't really have any other options. You feel like, where else I'm gonna go? What else I'm gonna do?
Yeah.
Spiritual bypassing, it kind of helped me in a way because it did help me create a level of stability. It helped me to look on the brighter side of things. But when I got honest, whew, when I got honest, I'm telling you,
Hmm.
that's when the tears fell. When I got honest, when I stopped avoiding the truth, when I allowed myself to be angry, when I allowed myself to feel the grief, when I allowed myself to understand that I was not in alignment with anything that could help me grow and be my best self. When I got honest, I realized that I was like, geez, like I've been saying like affirmations and speaking positivity. Like when I got honest, when I told myself the truth, let me tell you something. that's when shit start to shake. I ain't even gonna hold you. Like, oh, this is what I've been missing. The truth. Sometimes
Hmm.
it's ugly, but it's so beautiful to be able to see clearly,
Hmm.
you know? So beautiful to be able to be like, oh, okay, I'm sitting in shit. Like, no, I mean, no, like, we try not to curse on here. I'm sorry. But sometimes, look, when you getting honest, okay, I'm sitting in crap. Because only when you see, we've heard it a million times before. After a while, you sit in crap and you don't smell them anymore. You know what I mean? Once you realize you in crap, you go start to wash that stuff off. You can start to get clear. You can start to get aligned. You can start to receive. You can start to really see, I think that, when you're in dire circumstances, especially if you grew up in, abusive environments, sometimes you learn how to make the best of things. Like people don't even know how bad some things hurt you, but you are really trying to make the best of it. You know what I mean? You really try not to listen. You trying not to. Okay, because there's no telling what I, you know, if I would have unleashed the anger and all of that during that time. So I feel like to a degree, like I want to say that, like I don't think spiritual bypassing is good, especially not for the long term. But sometimes if you could keep your head above water until you can kind of get to swim a little bit to shore, I understand. I understand. I don't want to down nobody for, trying to look on the bright side of things. This is me having compassion with younger uni who I didn't really know what else to do but think positive. Because if I didn't think positive, ain't no telling. I'm telling you, ain't no telling. So I just want to say that, like, I don't want to, I definitely don't want to like kick spiritual bypassing, but at some point, you definitely got to be honest with yourself, and you gotta introduce the truth in there, really, really, honestly and truthfully. But I understand why spiritual bypassing can be a thing. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Only what you got on spiritual bypassing.
I think you covered it. I don't think. No, I mean, to be honest, I had a hour conversation with Chat GPT about spiritual bypassing. You just summed it up in a nutshell because I kept asking questions, and you know how it goes back in a loop. It's telling you the same things over and over again. It's AI, whatever. But
Yeah.
um, it just it kind of goes back to the what we talked about in the beginning. It really does. I think it brings us full circle where we were talking about emotional residue. You can get all that emotional residue because you're spiritually bypassing it. You're not looking at it. You're not dealing with it. You're not feeling it. And if you're just being, and it's not always just that toxic positivity. Sometimes it's, oh, I'm just going to give it to God. Oh, I just give it to God.
Mm,
Oh, I'm just going to give it to, yes, we give it to God, but it doesn't mean you don't deal with the emotion. You have to. Yes, you give it to God, but it's this is the faith without works is dead. You got to do your part. You have to do your part. And this is where, and next week we'll be, talking about study hall and about ways to do some of these things, different methods and stuff. And one thing I will talk about is the visioning practice that I learned from Reverend Michael Beckwith. You know, his life visioning process. Part of it is, what do I need to release? Sometimes what you need to release is some sadness and you just need to go cry. But you've been too busy saying, I'm not sad about this. You are. Deal with it. It's okay to be sad. We came here to have these human emotions. They mean something. They need to be honored. You can't spiritual bypass your way through it. Doesn't mean you cry forever. You do have to be positive, but it doesn't mean be positive and ignore everything else. No, you honor that. Oh, there is sadness there. Oh, there is anger there. Someone has been doing me wrong. Yes, I'm going to get out of this. Yes, I can forgive them. But you don't forgive them to avoid dealing with it. That's spiritually bypassing. Oh, I have to forgive. I have to forgive. Yes, you have to forgive. Yes, you have to forgive. But forgiveness doesn't mean you're not angry first. And it doesn't mean you're not going to get angry again, you know? So I don't have a whole lot to say on spiritual bypassing. I think it really ties into the emotional residue. It even ties into like these ideas of what was passed down to us, these generational curses that, you know, these not just generational curses, but these societal like beliefs that we take on, and then we try to spiritually bypass our way out of them as if we haven't been taught our whole life that it is supposed to be you have to work hard, you have to work hard, you have to work hard. And then you're trying to learn about manifesting a vision and you're like, well, I'm not working hard enough. Well, maybe you don't need to work hard at this point of the vision. Maybe the hard work is going to come, but it doesn't mean you always have to be working so hard that you're tired and exhausted. And, you know, you don't you spiritual bypass through the cultural norms that we've been taught. You don't spiritual bypass through, you know, that generational thing that has been passed down. Well, my mama was in an abusive relationship and her mama was in an abusive relation. Now I'm in an abusive relation, but it's gonna be all right. I'm fine. I'm good. God's got me. Meanwhile, not doing anything to move out of that situation. You can't do that. If the vision is not going to just pop without you dealing with what got you to where you are. So that's really all I got. I think we've been going for almost an hour and 40 now.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up. Absolutely.
Yeah.
One
This has
point
been a
I
good
wanted
one.
to, yeah, it has been. It definitely has. One thing I wanted to say that just an extension of what you were just saying is just really thinking about the conditioning that we have and understanding that vision and kind of like your vision begins beyond where the conditioning is. You know what I mean? You really sometimes got to ask yourself, like, whose voice is this?
Mm.
Who am I listening to? Am I listening to my granny that was, in an abusive relationship? Am I listening to my mama? Like, whose voice is this? Am I is it my destiny to settle for what they settled for? Whose voice is this? Who am I listening to? You know, because again, being attached to like certain outcomes is going to limit your vision. And one of the things that, one of the reasons why I agreed, I wanted to do this, and why my spirit was calling me even before you mentioned and brought it up, was like, we're supposed to be living beyond what our parents were living and our grandparents were living. Like,
Mm-hmm.
things are supposed to be better now. Like right now, like they had it bad, but to some degrees it's like, we don't got fresh, like healthy food. The nutrition in our food is lower than ever. The water is dirtier than ever. The bills are higher than ever. We're working more than ever. We have less time to relax than ever. Like, wait, is this? Wait, what are we doing here? I don't know about this,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So, manifesting a, beyond, excuse me, vision beyond manifestation culture is teaching us that, spirit is always evolving and we should be evolving with it. We shouldn't
Hmm.
be regressing, going backwards, feeling like we're getting closed in
Yeah.
more. And really just understanding that, again, like you mentioned in the beginning, vision is like about cooperation. There's a relationship that you have to have with your vision. You really got to tap in every day. Queen of Fluid taught us to get up early in the morning before the sun rises between 3:30 and 5:30 a.m. and receive our treasure, tap into our vision, pray, manifest, take our shower, drink our tea, journal, do all of that
Hmm.
to tap in with our vision. Have I been doing it? No, but that's a different story.
We gonna
I'm
get
getting
there.
back to it. I'm
I'm not
getting back
doing
to it.
it.
I'm getting back to it. You know, I think that it's important that to understand that a vision also aligns us with our truth, not fantasy. We were, I know me, I could speak for myself. I was heavy in fantasy land. You know what I mean? I'm a book girl, and you know what I mean? Like I have very good imagination. I can listen. You listen, as soon as you say it, I see it. I have a very good imagination. Very good fantasy life. But is it in alignment with my truth at the end of the day? What good is having a great fantasy if I'm not living in my truth?
Hmm.
What good is that? I feel like true vision is going to bring you peace.
Yeah.
It's not going to have you feeling depleted or stuck or like you're not getting what you really are supposed to get out of life or who you're really supposed to be. True living in your vision is really going to bring you peace. So really leaning into that. Like first you gotta get to a place of peace within your life, you know, limit your distractions, clean off the mirror, all that emotional residue, get into alignment, get into receptivity. She said yes. Limit your distractions. Make sure you're going in the right direction. Release attachments to outcome. Make sure you're being honest with yourself. Thinking about if you are, stuck in conditioning and inherited beliefs, like whose vision are you seeing? Is it yours? You know? As I've matured, my vision has matured, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for that. I don't see the same way that I saw when I was 21 or 31. I don't. I don't see people the same anymore. I'm so grateful for that. Yeah, what you got on me?
No, I think we've said most of what needs to be said. And I did say this a little bit last week. If your vision is just to have your basic needs, that's not your vision. It's not your vision. God wants all of us to have our basic needs met: emotional security, financial security, physical security, all of those things. She's losing her mind. If that's all that's coming to you, then you got work to do. Then you need to look at some of these things we talked about spiritual bypassing and emotional residue and all of that. You really got to look at that and make sure that you are looking with a clean lens. Sorry, y'all. I don't know. Somebody must be on the other side of the fence. She said yes. But that's all I really got for right now. This has been really great. I'm so grateful to you. I'm so glad you're better. feeling
Thank
better.
you.
I'm gonna mute so that she doesn't keep talking.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Umi. And thank you all for joining us. Hopefully, you're still with us. We're at an hour and about 45 minutes in, and we are just so grateful for you all being here. We hope that you've got something out of our conversation tonight. Again, we really did our best to dive deep into vision beyond manifestation culture, really understanding that living life is about, seeing truer. It's about seeing truer than, what you may have been taught to or what you may have been led to, and really living in the highest vision for your life. Listen, we came here with visions and goals and dreams, and we came here to accomplish a mission. And a part of that, agreement that we made, we kind of forgot it. We forgot it, to be honest with you. And what we're doing here at Earth School Journey is reminding ourselves and each other, all of our classmates, peer guides, fellow peer guides, we're reminding each other that it's all about oneness. It's all about it's all about leaning into the highest vision for your life. I'm so stuck on manifesting. I keep wanting to say it. See how conditioned I am? But I'm getting out of that myself, and this is why we are doing this work, because again, I've manifested everything I wanted to manifest, but at the end of the day, was it really in alignment with my highest vision? Did it really lead me to peace at the end of the day? Not really. So thank you so much for joining us. We hope you're asking yourselves these questions as we are asking ourselves these questions. We will be back next week, same time, same place, with Study Hall. We will have some tips, some practical things to share with you all that will help you to really lean into the highest vision for your life. Now, of course, during our conversations, we're sharing some of these things as we're speaking, but we're going to have some more for you next week. We got some good stuff aligned. So, again, thank you so much. I am your peer guide, Uni. This is my lovely co host and fellow peer guide, Umi Steph. We want to thank you all again for joining us, and we hope you have a beautiful rest of your week. Peace and love.
Peace.